I'm doing pretty good. You keeping your head above water out there?
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of rain here these last few days.
You've had a lot. I watched a fire truck fall in to a sinkhole here the other day, down in San Bernardino County, I believe.
Yes, So it's big news when it rains, but that always happens because the weather's so dry most of the time. The mudslides and everything, nothing to hold. So the water just brings it down.
Right. So Don is a legend, and he will tell you otherwise, but University of Southern California, he is in 3 Hall of Fames. He's in the University of Southern Cal Hall of Fame, the International League of AAA Baseball Hall of Fame, and in the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame. And man, that's how, when people tell you that, what do you got to say?
I feel very fortunate that I had the opportunities to actually be in all 3 of the situations, and so it's a good feeling. That's something that I cherish because it took hard work and dedication and a desire to be kind of successful no matter what. So with all the other obstacles that were in place or were there, but you can overturn obstacles of and become successful by just being dedicated and sticking to it.
And you've also got a World Series ring from 1970, and you've also got an All-Star. You played in an All-Star game as well.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about that 1970 World Series team. You guys were pretty dang good, and if I remember the Orioles. If I remember right, you won 108 games that season in the regular season.
Yes. Right.
And man, now was that the season where you had the 4 pitchers win 20 games?
Yes. Well, the year in '69 we had 3 20-game winners, and then turn around in '70 we had 4 20-game winners.
And that's unheard of now. I mean, you won't even have. I can't remember the last time somebody had 2 20-game winners on the same staff.
Yeah, it goes back before my time. I don't remember 2 20-game winners on one staff, actually. Maybe it was did Koufax and Drysdale win 2020 one year?
They might have, and maybe Maddox and one of the other Brave pitchers maybe came close, but to my knowledge, I can't remember of 2 20-game winners on the same staff.
Yeah, nor I.
And of course, the relief pitching is a little bit different now than what it was when you played. You didn't have the closer role, wasn't what it is today, and you had Jim Palmer, pitching in 40 games and going, 30 complete games. And so pitching was a little bit different back in that day.
Well, right. You had a 4-man rotation, and basically the relievers, you had set up guys, and then 1 or 2 guys that did the closing, depending on the right or left-hander coming up at bat or finishing out the game. But I think today, when you have a pitch count of 110, 20 pitches, to me, that's not very many. It's pitching every 5 days.
Right. Now, you played at Southern Cal, and you played for a legend, Rob Dideau, who is a legend in baseball. Tell us a little bit about your experiences there at Southern Cal.
Well, it was an outstanding experience. Actually, I was a walk-on after finishing high school and going to several of the colleges locally and sending letters to colleges in the Pac-10 at that time. And no one seemed to have an interest, even though I was off-city in baseball. And so I walked on over to see, talked to Coach Dideau, and asked if I could come out for the team. And he said, sure, come on out. And I paid my own way the first year there, going to USC, and then once I was there, I asked Coach Dable if there was an opportunity to get a scholarship, and that was during the first year I was there. And so he said he didn't have scholarships available because he'd used them all. And then spring training was coming up, and I said, well, I played football in junior college too that one year, and maybe I could make the football team and get a scholarship. So he said he would talk to the coaches, which he did, Coach Don Clark, and we had Al Davis, who was our backfield coach. Don Dahl was our defensive backfield coach, and of course they were well-known history after that. But they decided to let me try out for the team, and I was number 7th running back on the depth chart. But before that spring training was over with, I was on 1 and 2, so that's how I got the scholarship at SC.
And now, how many seasons of football did you play there at USC?
Just 2.
Okay.
57 and 8.
And of course, football back then was a little bit different. Was that before? I mean, was USC a power back then during then as well?
Pretty much, but we were on probation at that time. I followed John Arnett and C.R. Roberts.
Okay.
And then playing with me was Willie Wood, who was defensive back for Green Bay and All-American defensive back. And we had Monty Clark, the McKeever twins. We had a number of guys that played professional, went on to play and have outstanding careers and make the Hall of Fame. I was saying Willie Wood was in the Hall of Fame with Green Bay as a defensive back.
Won a couple of Super Bowls.
A couple of Super Bowls, and we had let's see, Ron Mix was with San Diego, and I think he played. He's in the Hall of Fame too, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
He's good.
So you go from USC to the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
And Joe Gordon was your manager. Now, Joe Gordon, wasn't Joe Gordon a manager in Chicago for you?
With the White Sox, Al Lopez.
Okay. I was thinking.
When I went up, it was in '63. They had Nellie Fox and Moose Scourin and Earl Batty. Those were the players. Jim Landis. Those were the players who were there at that time. And Camilo Carrion catching. We had Juan Pizarro, Gary Peters, Joe Horland. Those were the players at that time. Of course, Pete Ward was there.
Yes, yeah. I chatted with Pete this last week. He actually wants me to give you give him your phone number. So.
Oh, sure, by all means.
So I was chatting with Pete, like I said earlier in the week. He couldn't come on today, and Pete, of course, lives up here in Lake Oswego, not too far from us. And so how long did you spend there with the White Sox?
Well, I went up and I replaced Nellie Fox. He went to the Houston Astros in the expansion, and so then that opened up a spot for me to be with the White Sox. So I went from '63 through '67. Got traded for the '68 season. Louis Aparicio was with the Orioles, so Bruce Howard, myself. It was like 5 players for 2 going to the Orioles. So that's how I got with the Orioles in '68.
So now you replaced Nellie Fox. And so Nellie Fox, of course, is legendary. And what was that like?
It was very difficult.
Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. In fact, I even had a very negative death threat letter from some fan or someone in my first year there, but it turned out to be just kind of a hoax, as they expressed it later on. But it was difficult. It's always hard to replace legendary players.
Absolutely.
And he definitely was a legendary player.
So you go to Baltimore, and so, of course, you have one of the most colorful, if not the most colorful managers to ever manage, and that was Earl Weaver. What was it like playing for Earl?
It was fun playing for Earl. The good thing is we had such an outstanding group of individuals. I mean, every player on the club probably played in all-star games throughout their career. And of course, they had Hall of Famers and Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, and all-star players, Boog Powell and Davey Johnson, Paul Blair. I mean, just the number of players, the players we had were just super players. Earl Weaver, we used to just tell them, just sit down and enjoy the game. So he didn't have to manage too much. All he did, he put in some great defensive plays, and he put them in like in 1 week, and we didn't have to practice it week after week. Once he put it in, our infield were Brooks, Belanger, David Johnson, Boog Powell, and Etchman and Elroy Hendricks catching. I mean, they knew it just like, you give it to them once, you didn't have to go back and repeat it.
Right.
And
what a team!
So we used to have kangaroo court after games, and anytime Earl put in a player, say a pinch runner, and tried to have him steal a base he's thrown out, we'd find Earl Weaver for making a mistake.
So
putting in the wrong player.
one of the players that I'm interested in is Mark Belanger, and let's talk a little bit about him. He wasn't he didn't hit the ball he didn't hit for a high average. Let's put it that way.
Right.
He was he was basically a defensive specialist.
Right. Exactly. And we didn't need his. I mean, he was such a defensive specialist. We didn't need his bat.
Right.
And no matter what he hit was fine, because that made it. I mean, he made such outstanding defensive plays. He would save pitchers from getting in trouble, throwing ground balls in the hole and up the middle. That he took hits away from players. So it was very valuable on our team.
That's crazy. I was reading some of the stats that he had, and I mean, he was hitting like 210 and stuff like that. But I mean, he was so good defensively that you had to have him in that lineup. And with that lineup that you guys had, he was protected. And so, right. I mean, we're talking Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson, and also, our another connection is Frank Peters with us. Frank was in the minor leagues with the Orioles, never got time up with the Baltimore Orioles because of Brooks. And
right.
And so the 1970 World Series, would that be the highlight of your career?
For me, I mean, that was definitely one of them. I personally think having the great years and then being back to back in World Series was really more of a highlight. I know we won in 70, which was a super highlight, but getting in the series in 69, I mean, that was kind of something that I looked forward to as an ultimate goal when I first started playing baseball, because World Series is the key,
right, for
any player. And then when we lost in 69, our team meeting, we says, we'll be back next year. That was the attitude that we took. And from day one in spring training, we just knew that was our goal, and we attained that goal by being dedicated to and wanted to be successful in that sense.
With spring training, so spring training has now begun. It's officially underway. What was your approach to going into spring training? How did your approach during the off season and going into spring training? What was your approach?
Well, from day one, even in the minor leagues, I always went to spring training and shape ready to play. I could play 9 innings the very first day because I felt it was important to be ready to go, and then I could work on some deficiencies or things that I wanted to improve on. I could dedicate that to spring training. And so I always felt like I stayed in shape the year round. Maybe after November or something like that, December, maybe take off. But then January, I was working out hard in January, ready to go in February.
And so your time spent in Baltimore was, I mean, I'm sure that you enjoyed. There are some parts of Chicago that you enjoyed, but give us a couple of examples playing with Baltimore that you normally wouldn't hear about. So we know about Brooks Robinson, we know about the hitting, we know about the pitching with the 20-game winners, which is unheard of. Somebody like Mark Belanger behind the scenes who didn't, always hit well for high average, but yet he was his defensive specialist. There was a couple of other players that were like that.
Right. I mean, it was a mixture of players that fitted into the whole mode of the team. And like you're saying, Belanger was there. With, Earl Weaver would put in a player to knowing that they could be successful in that. Then Merv Redmond came up, and he fit into the outfield too. So it was a matter of him managing how he would play the players to keep everybody involved and going well. The players that weren't starting stayed in shape and ready to go because he would call on them at any time. So it was and we assisted each other. We coached each other. We helped each other. If we saw flaws that we thought that the player needed to improve on, we talk about it. And no one felt like they were domineering over any other player. And the work ethics of Brooks Robinson taking ground balls at third base, he take 100 ground balls. Belanger David Johnson. I mean, everybody did that. So it was a matter of us helping each other and coaching each other. And then, of course, we'd go out to dinner together as groups when we were on road trips, and just had a lot of fun as a team. Great camaraderie.
Do you still keep in contact with some of those guys?
Oh, yeah. I sure do. I talk to Brooks every now and then, Luke Powell. Quite a few of our guys have passed away, unfortunately. But
right.
I see Frank quite often. He's probably about 10 minutes from where I live here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Paul Blair just passed away recently within the last couple of years.
Yes, Paul passed.
Talk about underrated players. He was a very underrated player.
Yeah, defensively, he was like Belanger, as an outfielder. Defensively, and the guy was a tremendous defensive center fielder.
And he could run.
Yep.
And so
and made it easier for Frank and I because we'd give him more center field, left center, right center. We tell him he had to cover it. We just cover from left field to the foul line.
And so now, did you coached at USC for a while, didn't you?
Yes, I coached with Coach Dado for like 2 to 3 years.
And what was the experience coaching with him? Besides, you played for him as well, but what was it like coaching with him?
It was great because the philosophy that he had and teaching the players how to play was a carryover for me. And then certain players that we had there certainly made it to the big leagues, and quite a number. In fact, I coached when Randy Johnson was pitching there, and Campanis and Jeff Cirillo and Brett Boone. And, Pat Gillick was with us there at SC, who was the general manager.
Right.
And so, the players that we're associated with and the carryover of the teaching, the fundamentals and being sound players at SC from Coach Dado, for me, was a carryover. So I tried to express the same thing and using the same philosophy and kind of the same coaching approach that he used, and to me it works.
It's kind of funny. You mentioned those players, and I'm thinking, Ben Ford, who is a chef now, and the son of Harrison Ford, of course. When we had him, he played at USC there for a while. Were you there when Ben was there as well?
My mind forgets.
Okay.
What year would you call? What year he was there?
Ben was probably there. I'm thinking 88, 89. So he was there with Campanis for a little bit, but so.
Yeah, I probably did then for sure.
Yeah, he got hurt and had to give it. He gave it up, but Southern Cal. A lot of people forget. Now with college baseball
Yes.
that. At one time, Southern Cal, won 10 national championships in a row?
Yes. We won, actually, we had so many national championships. I think Dato has more than anyone.
He does.
Yeah, so, he was, pitchers, Tom Severs was there. There's so many outstanding players came under his tutelage that I don't know of any other coach that's had that kind of success with a number of players being that successful in the major leagues.
Right, and that's hard. Here in Oregon, we watched Oregon State win in what was it, 06, 07, Brian? 2006, 2007, and they won back-to-back, and it's so hard to even get, number one, to get there, and
right.
To go back-to-back, and to rattle off what Southern Cal did back in
right.
Dato's age, it doesn't happen now.
Right. We could have had one more in 1959, but we won the pack and won the first two games of the playoffs, and then we got a letter from the NC2A saying that we couldn't go any further. And that team was the only player we lost off of that team was Ron Fairley,
right.
who signed with the Dodgers in '58. So we won that, and they put us on probation, so we couldn't go back to Omaha for the championship playoff. But it's funny, kind of a cute story. Peter O'Malley offered the College World Series team to play us at Dodger Stadium with all expenses paid, a 3-game series, and they refused to play.
It's fun to hear the stories about Omaha because, the tradition is still there. It's a different stadium now, but the fact that the College World Series is still played in Omaha, Nebraska every June, and it's been that way for, mid-50s, early 50s?
Oh, yeah. Yes, easy, yes.
And so to hear your stories of Omaha and then to hear some of these younger players, the stories, they're basically the same. Of course, the stadium has changed now and they're playing in a different one, but Omaha's still Omaha.
Exactly. And baseball is baseball, no matter what. It's a great sport, and it's fun to play, and I think it gives the excitement that the fans love. People think there's not much action in baseball, but there's action on every pitch.
There's a lot of action in baseball.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Every player has to be ready to do something on every pitch.
If there was one player that I would like you to think about one player who, for whatever reason, didn't make it to the major leagues, for one reason or another, that should have or could have, whether he got hurt, burned out. Who do you think would have been a great major league player?
There were players that hard to say that they would have been great players, but I think there are a number of players, if they had been a little bit more dedicated to working hard, could have been much more successful than they were. Because if I'm saying otherwise, it's hard to say what a player should have done or could have done. You know,
right?
I kind of pass on this one.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. So once again, Mr. Don Buford, and Don, hey, we enjoyed having you on. Let's do this again sometime soon. And
okay,
so now your son, you had a couple of so you are the father of Damon, who, of course, we remember Damon played 10 years in the major leagues. And
yes.
we'll end on this question for you is, what was the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you, baseball-wise, and what advice would you give to the younger players that are coming up now?
The advice that I would give is basically have fun playing, learn the game, and know your ability, and work hard on the deficits that you have, not just on the positive things you have. If you're not a good defensive player, work on that twice as much as you work on your offensive. And I think that will help you improve and make you become more of a solid player. The advice I give to kids is that you play more than one sport.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tie yourself into just football, baseball, or basketball, or any one sport. If you have ability, play more than one, because then you have a choice. And playing more than one will keep you in shape most of the year round, but it changes your mind concepts of what you're doing. Because if certain plays in basketball, the foot movement, the angles of pursuit are same thing as a defensive outfielder, angles of pursuit on going to get a ball. The agility to, when you get near a wall, to be able to control your body so that you don't crash a wall real hard.
Right.
The foot movement of diving, being able to react, get up and make a throw. So there's a lot of things that are interwoven in sports that can help you in both. Strength, if you're a football player, I mean, you develop strength in your arms and shoulders, and legs. You need that too for all sports, really.
Right.
So I say have fun and enjoy it.
That's good. Hey, Don, thank you for coming on. And like I said, let's do this again soon. And, hope it dries out down there for you guys.
Well, thank you. We can get out and play some baseball.
Absolutely. All right, Don. Hey, thank you, and you have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you calling.
All right, thank you.
Right, bye.
Bye. Once again, Mr. Don Buford. Man, that 70s Orioles team, that during those eras, of course, you and I were like 3 and 4. So
1 or 4,
something like that. And but 4 20-game winners. Are you kidding me?
That was a good team, very stacked, and they went on to win it.
You talked about Merv Rettenman. Of course, he's from Oregon, and Merv hit like 18 home runs off the bench.
Different game back then too.
Absolutely.
So,
hey, once again, we are Clubhouse Chatter. That is Brian. This is Norm, and we are sponsored by Baseballisms.com. If you like my hat, if you like my sweatshirt,
I'm kind of digging that sweatshirt. I saw that.
I like the hood. The hood's got the red, white, and blue in there, and
saw that the other day in a post that you put on with your mom, and I thought, saw your mom and thought, oh, that's nice to have breakfast with mom. And then the sweatshirt.
Yeah, I do want to thank the Baseballisms guys, for the support. And,
they're awesome. Thank you.
They are having a grand opening. I don't have the address right in front of me, but it's April 1st at their new store location in Portland from, I think it's like 5 to 9, 5:30, 9:30, something like that. 1080 The Fan is going to be there. They're going to have an auction to benefit Nova Newcomer and Friends of Baseball there as well. And so Brian and I think Brian and I will be there, at least one of us. And we might have a couple of people in tow with us. Tony Torquato might be in with us. And Brian's got an address here.
It's 2215 Northwest Quimby Street in Portland.
And we will be there, and hopefully we'll be able to do a live show from there earlier in the day. We're working something out. And, stop in, check out those guys. They got some great stuff. They're great guys. And we are also sponsored by BaseballDudes.com. Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver, Washington. To be the best, you must train like the best. Base by Pros Sports Education, Mitch Canham. And Skipper Mitch Canham with the Modesto Nuts. He's a nut now. And his dad, Mark Canham, does our shirts for us for MDM Designs. We stream live every week on YamHillToday.com. Check it out, YamHillToday.com. Hey, if you have an idea for a show or looking to sponsor, shoot me an email, normbo18@gmail.com. Dude, I'll even take your hate mail. And we are... What are you laughing at, Brian?
Well, you spend so much time answering emails. I can't believe you solicit them still. I mean, you're always taking the love letters, I'll say.
Yes, which are absolutely zero. You can find us on Twitter, Clubhouse Chatter 1T, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, MLB.com blogs. Do a Google search. You'll find Clubhouse Chatter. Once again, I'm Norm. That is Brian. Hey, 11:30, we're going to have former Portland Maverick and Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Larry Colton and author. You're not going to want to miss this one. He is awesome.
It's going to get very interesting here.
It's in Portland they say keep Portland weird. We're gonna do our best. All right, we'll be back.